So the Israel-Iran war keeps escalating and the fighting is continuing as we speak. There's recent reporting that's really damaging to both Trump and the USA, as it looks like we're heavily involved and knew about these attacks ahead of time. And this is the question, what did Trump know and when did he know it? I want to show you guys what I'm looking at, and let's just jump right in. This is from the Wall Street Journal. In twist, U.S. diplomacy served as cover for Israeli surprise attack. Talks seen as a way to keep the peace gave Israel the opportunity to land heavy military blows. And then we have this also. Trump to Wall Street Journal. U.S. was aware of Israeli plans to attack Iran. So the question is, again, what did Trump know and when did he know it? Why does this matter? Because coming into this weekend, the U.S. was saying, "Hey, Iran, let's pursue peace. Let's find a way to make a deal. These kind of things." And then, basically, was it Friday? Israel attacks, right? Surprise attack. It makes the U.S. look really bad because basically, on one hand, you're saying, "Hey, I want peace," and on the other hand, you know that war is coming. And then also we're involved in the fighting. U.S. is helping Israel shoot down Iranian missiles. American officials say. This is a statement from Bernie Sanders, which really pounds the point home of how serious and how bad we look, to be perfectly frank. Bernie Sanders says, talks to address Iran's nuclear program were planned for Sunday, right, this weekend. Instead, Netanyahu launched illegal strikes on Iran, killing a top ceasefire negotiator, right? So you're killing people who are involved in negotiations to try to have peace here, undermining U.S. diplomatic efforts and putting countless innocent lives at risk. We can't be dragged into another Netanyahu war. So I'm with Bernie Sanders on this one. I just want to make it really clear. I don't want any fighting anywhere. And I'm wondering, that's why I just keep thinking to myself, what did Trump know and when did he know it, right? If we're supposed to have a meeting on Sunday to negotiate peace and you know that Israel's going to attack, like, when did you know this? Like you're setting us for a terrible situation. And we're already involved in the fighting. That's why I mentioned you guys this, where it says here, U.S. is helping Israel shoot down Iranian missiles. On top of that, because Trump will probably make the case, oh, well, Netanyahu made up his mind, just yesterday or just a minutes ago, and he didn't tell me. I don't know. Right? I'll make up some sort of nonsense like that. But this kind of attack, this takes a lot of planning, right? And this is coming from the Washington Post, just sort of going detailing of how extensive the planning would be. How Mossad covertly prepared Israel's attack from deep inside Iran, right? The targeting of leaders and sensitive sites relied on activating intelligence teams, pre-positioned weapons, and other capabilities that had long lain dormant. And it was interesting because when you read through this stuff, basically the first wave of attacks from Israel were targeting specific people, right? And however you want to classify that, I'll let you be the judge in that. But they're targeting specific people, so they hit a lot of the top Iranian people. And then after that, then they went after facilities. So these are certainly would rely on a lot of intelligence to know exactly where these people are. How much intel was used from the USA, that remains to be seen, and we may never know that stuff, or we'll find out later. But definitely, this is not something that just spurred the moment. This took a lot of planning to do and a lot of assets on the ground. The whole thing, when I read through this stuff, and I know it's hard to stay calm on this stuff. I get frustrated because I just feel like we're so deeply embedded in these actions that can we ever get out of it or disconnect? And that's my opinion on this stuff. I don't want to be involved. Here's 5 takeaways. So we'll read through this from Bloomberg here. 5 takeaways from the Israel-Iran airstrikes. And again, the fighting is continuing. Iran fired 2 waves of ballistic missiles at Israel, with around 100 in total, according to Israeli officials, right? So first, remember, USA is trying to negotiate some sort of peace. Hey, we'll meet Sunday. Israel does a surprise attack. Then, of course, Iran's going to retaliate. But these, both the attack by Israel and then the counterattack by Iran, are quite significant. And it looks like to be not ending anytime soon. I've heard it could go a couple weeks, but I mean, how can you control how long it's going to go? If once you just start attacking, the other side start attacking back, it just could be endless. This is where the real problem is. And, we'll read some more here. It says, it came hours just after Israeli airstrikes targeted Iranian nuclear and ballistic facilities, killing senior officials, including the commanders of Iran's Revolutionary Guard. U.S. President Donald Trump urged Iran to make a deal, quote, before it's too late. But the problem is like, how could Iran trust Trump at all when we're supposed to be making a deal this weekend, but we're already attacking, right? It doesn't, you can't trust him, right? Crude oil surged across Friday on geopolitical risk and concern about supply, while U.S. stocks fell. You also have this. Trump wanted Iran nuclear deal fast. Now he may get military confrontation. And this is a common theme that I see a lot with Trump and his people. A lot of it is they're playing, the polls, they're playing politics, they're looking at, wow, midterms are coming up and we're only at 38% approval. We better get some deals rolling fast because people don't like us. They're starting to realize that we're a bunch of liars. And so, he wanted to be able to get the headline and get whatever handshakes with Iran and play the Instagram game. That's who Donald Trump is. It's a TV show to him. And this is what we're at, right? You are putting us in a really dangerous position. Trump, his main concerns is putting money in his pocket. You guys remember this? He was tweeting out, what was this, a couple months ago, about how he's going to make this awesome resort and hotels in Gaza, right? I've told you guys this before, and just did in the last video where he's talking about, he really likes the land and the beautiful land in North Korea because that's why he'd want to make relationships over there. I'm sure he's looking at casinos in Iran, that kind of stuff. That's what his interest is. And oftentimes, his sort of greed gets us into these problems. He claims, this would be Trump people, claims that, it's all Obama's fault and then it's all Biden's fault, that kind of stuff. But just to remind you, this is back in 2018. This is just factual, right? From the old White House website here. President Donald J. Trump is ending United States participation in an unacceptable Iran deal. So basically, Trump pulled us out of the deal that we had with Iran to try to keep it from Iran having nuclear weapons, right? Essentially what this is all about. This is all about Israel is going to claim we have to attack Iran because they're enriching their uranium. They're going to get nuclear weapons. We have to attack now. And, there was a deal in place to sort of, frankly, keep them from getting weapons. That's the basic idea of it. Multiple countries signed on. Trump's like, oh, that deal is unacceptable. I need to pull us out. That was back in 2018. Here's a quote from Trump. The Iran deal was one of the worst and most one-sided transactions the United States has ever entered into. And so the idea is that we're going to pull out of that deal, right? And then theoretically, Trump's going to negotiate something else, which never came, as you guys know. And now it looks like we're getting teetering on U.S. heavy involvement in Iran-Israel war. And that's what I'm deeply concerned about. And I keep saying, what did Trump know? When did he know it? And this is the ultimate question here, right? Is Iran as close to building a nuclear weapon as Netanyahu claims? And that's going to be the debate probably for the next, couple of weeks. You're going to be hearing about this to where Netanyahu's going to say, well, we had to attack because they were so close, right? So that's going to be different claims, though, from Israel and Netanyahu. Trump will probably end up saying the same stuff. But it's going to be different claims than what you'll hear from others. So here, for example, it says, Israeli Prime Minister alleges Tehran has capacity to make 9 bombs. If so, Israel knows more than the U.S. or the UN watchdog did, right? So Israel will claim they have special intelligence that no one else has. And they've been planning this for a long time. I'll just say this about this stuff, though, is that regardless of, what Israel's claims are, what Trump claims are, I can just see what's happening right now on the ground. Israel, attacked. Iran is hitting back. These attacks are quite large. It looks like that Israel's Iron Dome thing, that's what they call it, the missile defense stuff, may not work as well as they've been touting it to work, which I told you guys this stuff before in the prior videos, to where you'll never know exactly the accuracy rates of their defense systems or anyone's military capability, because you don't just publicly say, hey, it's exactly this, right? You always want to puff up your chest and make it sound like it's stronger than it is. But the result, though, is that Israel's like, hey, USA, can you help us shoot these things down? All right, they're not going to say, hey, USA, our defense isn't as good as we've been touting it to be, but I mean, that's just the result. They're saying, hey, USA, help us out here. And that's going to be the issue is like, can we get the fighting to stop? Can Trump, figure out a way to get Netanyahu to like, hey, stop attacking? Then can Trump say, Iran, hey, stop attacking? But, this goes back to we're supposed to be meeting on Sunday to like talk about, hey, how can we not fight at all? And if you're doing these sort of, planning of negotiations, planning for peace, but on the other hand, that your, little buddy or however you want to call this, Israel is planning to attack, right? Like, what did you know and when do you know it? This whole thing makes the USA look really bad here, to be perfectly frank. I don't want to be involved. That's my opinion on this stuff. But it feels like we're just getting dragged into it. And essentially what will happen is like I mentioned before, if Trump starts dragging our troops in there to like, hey, we need to be peacekeepers, or hey, we need to show a force, and then U.S. personnel get involved, U.S. assets get involved, we just get dragged into it. And you'll start hearing the Fox News and all the people on social media, oh, see, they just attacked us. We have to defend ourselves, right? And you guys get to see how this thing plays out. So that's my thoughts. I just want to give you guys some updates. I do appreciate your time, and I'll catch you on the next video.